And joining me now is one of the Republican conferees on the tax bill. It's Pennsylvania Senator Pat Toomey. Senator Toomey, welcome back to the show, sir.
Thanks for having me, Chuck.
Let me ask you this about comparing what you guys are doing with the tax bill here right after a special election victory for the other party and the eerie similarities many of us are seeing with Scott Brown in 2010 and you know, you yourself came in on the 2010 wave. Do you see any perils here of pushing this tax bill on a partisan line during this tough political environment, considering how much that backfired on your friends on the other side of the aisles 8 years ago?
No, actually, I don't, Chuck. I think the peril would be failure to get something done here. Republicans were elected to be in complete control of the elected government to get some big things accomplished. And we had a terrible setback on health care. We're not going to have that on tax reform. And when we get this done, people are going to see that they get a take-home pay raise because their tax bill is going down. Mm-hmm. And I'm convinced they're going to see a real boom in the economy. So, no, I think the peril would be if we fail to get this done.
All right, well, I'm going to do something. I want to play candidate Pat Toomey for Senator Pat Toomey. Take a listen,
sure.
Sir. All right.
The only thing bipartisan about that bill was opposition to it. And little wonder when you consider what's in it. Our health insurance premiums are going to go up. That's not what this bill should be doing. And then there's the spending. Well over $1 trillion over the next 10 years of money we don't have. It's going to create debt that we can't afford.
Okay. I know you're not going to like this, but let's do here. It's the tax bill, all partisan. The opposition, technically bipartisan. Does it raise deficits? There's at least 3 different studies, 2 that use dynamic scoring, all that claim that it raises the deficit over 10 years. And because of the repeal of the mandate, the CBO believes premiums on health care will go up. What would candidate Toomey say to Senator Toomey?
It'd say the same thing I'm saying right now, Chuck. That is a terribly badly flawed analogy. Look, this is not this disastrous health care bill that mandates that Americans buy a product that they don't want at a price they can't afford. It's nothing of the sort. It's tax relief. It is lowering the tax burden. Why is this bill unpopular, though?
Why is this bill starting out more unpopular?
Let's be clear. My Democratic colleagues have done a great job of mischaracterizing this. I mean, just listen to the comments as recently as yesterday, claiming insisting that this is somehow a middle-class tax increase. But yet in the Senate Finance Committee on the Senate floor, one of them offered an amendment to take our legislation as it applies to low and middle income families and make it permanent. Now, if that's such a terrible tax increase, of course, all the Democrats would vote against it, right? Well, no, every single one of them voted for it. So, look, they've mischaracterized it. But, you know, the proof is going to be very clear. Early next year, people's withholdings are going to go down. Their take-home pay is going to go up. And when they see that happen, it's going to make very clear how beneficial this is.
There's a couple of senators. One is threatening a no vote, Marco Rubio. Mike Lee is calling himself undecided. They both have been the champions of expanding the earned income tax credit. They wanted to get it into the Senate bill. It didn't happen. I understand why Senator Rubio's frustrated. He was just trying to get a less than 1% increase in the corporate tax rate from 20 to, I think, 20.94 to expand this child tax credit. Got voted down. Now, all of a sudden, he sees the compromise of raising it to 21%, even higher than he proposed. Still no expanded tax credit. Where are you on this? And how do you get Senator Rubio to yes if this isn't in it?
So you said the earned income tax credit. I think you meant the child tax credit.
I'm sorry, the child tax credit. My apologies there. Thank you.
And in fact, the child tax credit is expanded significantly. We take that up to $2,000 per child. We take the amount that is refundable in the Senate bill to $1,100.
Right. What about folks without children? Because that was another part of this, right? Expanding it beyond that.
No, if you don't have children, you don't get the child tax credit. I don't think Marco suggested that people without children should get the child tax credit. This is meant for people with children, and it is an increase, a significant increase in the child tax credit. I understand Senator Rubio and Mike Lee would like to have an even larger child tax credit, and that's something that's been under discussion, and we've been under discussion with them on that. We'll see where that ends, but I'm more than cautiously, I'm optimistic that both Mike Lee and Senator Rubio will be supporting this package in the end. Of course, you'd have to check with them to be sure.
You know, the Democrats relented in 2010 and decided not to rush, let Scott Brown have his say on the health care bill. Why shouldn't Doug Jones get a shot at having his say on the tax bill?
Look, we've been working on this for a long time. We all campaigned on this. President Trump made this tax relief and tax reform the centerpiece of his campaign. The election occurred in 2016. We've been working on it ever since, and it's ready to go. Now's the time to pass it.
What are you telling your friends in Bucks County? My guess is maybe even some constituents, some donors who look at this tax bill and say, hey, my tax bill may go up because the state and local tax deduction is gone, the property tax exemption is capped, and they don't see a tax cut here. What are you telling them?
Yeah, it's a good point, right? So virtually everybody who's in a working class family, middle income family, virtually all of those folks are going to get a significant tax reduction. There are a handful of wealthy people, high income earners. If they live in a high tax jurisdiction, they're not necessarily, they might have a modest tax increase. What I hope is that on balance, other things will work to their advantage. We do have a reduction in the tax on pass-through incomes. Maybe they have investments in tax in pass-through. Equity market has responded massively to this tax. You saw the huge rally that occurred from the time we were able to pass this in our budget committee. So people benefit in a variety of ways, but there are a handful of high-income folks who will have higher taxes.
Senator Toomey, were you always for getting rid of this exemption on state and local taxes, or is this something you're just accepting because it's the only way to get it? I mean, it does seem like it's an uneven targeting. It's almost targeting blue states.
No, it's very good policy, and I've always been in favor of a dramatic simplification. I've advocated a flat tax that would abolish all deductions and have a much lower rate. Look, what it is a policy. The current law, the current ability to deduct state and local tax is a subsidy from the low tax jurisdictions to high tax jurisdictions. And I don't know why my constituents in Perry County, Pennsylvania, should have to pay higher federal taxes so that people who live in the Upper West Side of Manhattan in a beautiful penthouse where they have exorbitant taxes get a lower tax rate as a result. That doesn't make sense to me. This is a step in the direction of fairness.
Look, a lot of people, a lot of working class people live in New York City too, sir, but I take your metaphor.
And they're not subject to the 10 or 12 or 14% income tax that higher income people are.
Fair enough. Senator Toomey, I'm going to leave it there. It's always fun to talk. I know you enjoy talking tax policy.
Absolutely.
And
this is great stuff.
Actually get to focus on some substance. Good to talk to you, sir. Appreciate it.
Thanks for having me, Chuck.
Thanks for coming on.